Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Wild Sports Talk alongside the Asian Skip Bayless and James Gonzalez. I'm Loro Antonio, and we have a lot of sports content to be getting out there tonight. But let's lead things off. Let's lead things off by talking about the Kansas City Chiefs traded six-time Pro Bowler wide receiver Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins in a stunning blockbuster trade in exchange for 5 draft picks, a 2020 first-round pick number 29, second-round pick number 50, and fourth-round pick, plus fourth and sixth-round picks in the 2023 draft. With the Dolphins trading for Tyreek Hill, does that mean the Dolphins are now atop of the AFC East? I gotta say, not necessarily. I think that the Dolphins are going to challenge the Buffalo Bills for the AFC East, but I still think the Buffalo Bills are the better team in the AFC East. And I think that it puts the Dolphins ahead of New England as the second best team in the AFC East, and New England is just third. It is already the third best team in that division. And then the Jets are in last. Brandon Herrera is joining us right now. And I'm going to start with Isaiah on this. So, Isaiah, what's your thoughts on Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins? And do you think that the Dolphins, does this mean that they're atop of the AFC East? Or do you think that the Dolphins are going to challenge the Bills for the AFC East, but you think the Bills are still the better team?
Well, first things first, the NFL just never, ever, ever, ever lets you down. Just when you think the offseason is done, all the major moves have happened and then nothing crazy will happen again, all of a sudden, boom, you see this big news with Tyreek Hill getting traded to the Miami Dolphins. The NFL just never ceases to amaze me when it comes to the offseason and also the product on the field in the regular season and the postseason. In terms of this trade, let me say this. This is the beginning of the end for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, because that division, the AFC West, just got immensely stronger with Russell Wilson joining the Denver Broncos, with Devontae Adams pairing with Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. And then you have Khalil Mack and all the guys that the Chargers added to bolster up that defense. That division is already very strong, and the Chiefs just lost one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And, this is truly going to show now who needed who the most. Did Tyreek Hill need Patrick Mahomes the most, or did Patrick Mahomes need his glamorous weapons the most when he's not going to have Tyreek Hill next season in the AFC West and in the regular season and the postseason? But I don't know why the Chiefs did it. I really don't. I know Hill was asking for a lot of money. I think he was asking for way more than what Devontae Adams got. But, I mean, he's a major part of your offense. And, you have your draft picks that you got, but do we really trust the Chiefs front office to draft well? I don't personally, because look at their draft history from the last 2 to 3 years. It's been just trash after trash after trash draft picks. And I mean, they got Valdes-Scantling, but he struggles with drops. They also got a few more other guys that they picked up, but none of them can replace the production and the threat that Tyreek Hill gave you. So I'm just very bewildered at why the Chiefs even made this trade. It makes no sense to me. I know it frees up some cap space in the future so they can sign Kelsey and they can sign other guys, but I just don't trust this Chiefs front office to draft with all the picks that they got in return for Tyreek Hill. I think you might be looking at a situation like, sorry, James, and I'm going to mention this, but John Gruden with the Raiders. Remember, they got all those picks, but have they hit on any of them? That's the big question. No, they haven't, and I just don't trust the Chiefs front office to do that. As far as what this means for the Dolphins, and
thank you, Internet.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah's frozen here. I mean,
Thank God.
Isaiah, now can we hear you?
yes. Can you guys got me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the internet over there, but in terms of what this means for the Miami Dolphins, what this means is the Buffalo Bills just got a legit threat in the AFC East. And also this means that there's no more excuses for Tua Tagovailoa. And also this means that the Dolphins are about to have the most creative offense in the NFL. You look at what Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan were able to do with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, jet sweep motion, all of that stuff that they did. Now you get Jalen Waddle and you get you get Jalen Waddle and you get Tyreek Hill. Two of those two guys are way better than Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Imagine the plays, the jet sweep, the motion. Imagine all the creativity that Mike McDaniel will be able to draw up for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The Miami Dolphins offense, and you have Gesicki as well. The Miami Dolphins offense is about to explode with Mike McDaniel calling the plays and drawing it up, and all the weapons that they have, and the offensive line being beefed up. Like, I can't wait to see. We might be witnessing next year Showtime Lakers in football version.
Oh
That's
my
how
God.
explosive this is about to be for the Miami Dolphins. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see the creativity from Miami's offense next year. And oh my gosh, man, this is also the beginning of the end for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I don't think it is the beginning to the end of the Chiefs. I mean, I think that the Chiefs are still the better team in the AFC West despite losing Tyreek Hill. As long as you have Travis Kelce, I think Mecole Hardman's going to be good. And I think that Mahomes is going to have – I expect Mahomes to be Patrick Mahomes. And Big B, I'm going to get your thoughts on this. So what's your thoughts on Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins? And do you think that they're the top team in the AFC East? Like I said, the Bills are still the better team, though, even though the Dolphins, they're going to compete with the Bills now.
Well, I mean, let's all agree this was a shocker of a trade. I mean, I don't think anybody predicted that the Chiefs are going to deal Hill. I mean, so there's got to be something in the locker room or something Hill said to the front office that wanted this trade, and it could have been money. I mean, possibly he wanted to be more paid than Adams, and so we'll see where that goes. Excuse me. But as far as the Chiefs being done, like Isaiah said, they're far from it. They're a young team. They got probably the best quarterback right now going. They like to play that schoolyard football, just chuck it up and let me get it. And don't forget, they signed Juju from the Steelers, who's, not a bad receiver. I mean, I think he's pretty good for what he had in Pittsburgh. So the draft picks, I mean, any team, you look at any team, a lot of teams, they're probably 50-50 in draft picks. Nobody has a perfect draft ever. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to fall off. Are they going to keep making the run in the playoffs? Nah, they might skip a year here or there, but, I mean, I still think the Chiefs are the dominant team. Russell Wilson going there, yeah, it makes the Broncos better, but how many more years does he have left? The Chargers are probably the second best team, followed by the Raiders. I mean, I know the Raiders got Adams. So, if they get their defense up there, that division alone is probably going to be the best division to watch in football this coming up year. Now, with the Miami Dolphins, I mean, yeah, they got, Hill, who's the fastest guy in football. Creativity, yeah, it might work. It might be interesting to watch, but is it going to work? I mean, that's the whole thing. Just because you can draw up plays doesn't mean they're always going to work. So it'll be interesting to see what Tua can do with those weapons, Miami can do with the weapons. I think they're, between them and the Patriots, I think it's a battle of the 2 and 3 seeds. Buffalo, on the other hand, I just saw reports that they're open to trading Diggs, so that might be a big blow to them if they can find a trade partner. But Miami still, if they get a running game going, I think they're still the top of that division, and they're going to be a threat to, in the playoffs. So, but again, everything is about staying healthy and team chemistry. with all these movements, like Isaiah said, I mean, a lot of teams are going to look different next year.
Actually, Big B, sorry to interrupt. There was no, I saw that there was no news on the Bills trading Stephon Diggs.
Oh, I know there's no news on it, but I know I read a report that said that they are open to trading him. So if I said they did trade him, I misspoke. I read that they are open to trading him. So
yeah, I didn't see anything about that. I think that Stephon Diggs is going. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be really is going to have a great year.
I think he should stay there, but again, the phone rings. You're going to listen to what they have to say. So, but we'll see. The NFL's crazy this year.
Yeah, the NFL is crazy this year. And James, I'm going to go to you. What's your thoughts on Tyreek Hill being a Dolphin, and how does it shape up the AFC East?
You guys hear me, right?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going green over here. I don't know what it is, recycled. Anyway, I'm very shocked what the Chiefs did, but I think Tyreek Hill was offended, and he said, "Get me out of here." I mean, the Chiefs did kind of get a little not as better as they would with Tyreek, but they did get Juju. They did get another receiver, so I'm pretty sure that they'll be just fine where they are in their division. But with Miami here, I still think they're behind Buffalo. This trade makes Miami almost even with New England. I want to see what New England does through the draft. I think the pressure is now on Tua to get Tyreek Hill the ball and not throw low on passes. He's got to throw over 30 yards, or you get Tyreek Hill on the slant and there he goes. So the pressure's all on Tua to work with Tyreek Hill and the other weapons there. They did get a couple of running backs as well, so I really like the direction Miami is going. But it all falls on Tua, and then if that doesn't work, you got to go with Teddy Bridgewater, which I love as a backup option. I really do when they sign Teddy Bridgewater. So the Dolphins are definitely swimming upstream, and I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, I think that the Dolphins and Bills are going to be 1-2 in the AFC East, and then for my Patriots, I think that they'll just be third, despite that move and all that. But Isaiah, before we move on to our next topic, when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, what do you want to add here, Isaiah?
What I want to say is this, and it pertains to the discussion that we had, I think last week on Wild Sports on Monday, when we talked about who has more pressure to prove themselves next season. Is it Derek Carr or is it Tua Tagovailoa? And I think I said Tua Tagovailoa, and it just reaffirms it. Tua now has Jalen Waddle, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got Gesicki, he's got the running backs they brought in, he's got an offensive-minded coach, and he's got a beefed-up offensive line. There's no excuses for Tua not to perform this upcoming or next season. And Miami, let's not forget, they have 2 picks next season in the first round or in next draft. So this is a make or break year for Tua Tagovailoa, and if he doesn't do well, the blame is gonna be all on his shoulders. And Miami, you could definitely see that they will look for a new quarterback if he doesn't do well, because they have the picks, they have the weapons, they've given Tua everything that he needs to succeed. It's now up to him to prove everybody in Miami that they made the right pick.
I think he is going to prove everyone wrong, Isaiah. I have a lot of confidence in Tua, and I think there's no excuses for him now. And I've always liked the guy since Alabama. I just think that he just needs to stay healthy. But again, I have a lot of confidence in Tua.
Nope.
So, anyways, the Jaguars are reportedly seriously considering drafting Georgia defensive end Trayvon Walker for the number 1 pick. And do I think they'll go that route? Not necessarily, because I think that you need to get a right tackle to help protect Trevor Lawrence And that's why I still have the Jaguars drafting Evan Neal with the number 1 pick in the 2022 draft. I'm going to start with you, Isaiah. Do you think that Trayvon Walker should be the number 1 pick? I told you that we have different opinions on this, Isaiah, but my mind tells me that it's going to be Evan Neal to the Jaguars because you need to have Cam Robinson at left tackle, and you need to have a right tackle in Evan Neal so that the offensive line in Jacksonville is beefed up for Lawrence.
No, the Jaguars would be absolutely making a gigantic mistake if they did it because, yeah, I get what you're saying about the offensive line, low roll, but Trayvon Walker is not even the best pass rusher in this draft. If you're going to go pass rusher, go for Aiden Hutchinson, who had a monster season at Michigan. He had like 22 and a half sacks last year at Michigan. Or go with Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon. He had a tremendous year. Those two are the top 2 pass rushers in this draft. And Walker, for me, I probably would say he's either 3rd or 4th in terms of being the best in terms of best pass rushers in this draft. So I don't know what Trent Baalke and co are doing. Knowing Trent Baalke, he's never going to go for the obvious pick, even though if it's sitting right there in front of him, which really infuriates me, it did in San Francisco when he was the Niners GM. But I just think if the Jags do this, they would be making a gigantic mistake. He's not the best pass rusher in this draft, not even close to it. He wasn't even the best pass rusher on that Georgia defensive line anyway. So if he goes number 1, it would be a really questionable decision for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do think the Jaguars should go pass rush because I think their pass rush needs to be beefed up because if you can't rush the quarterback in the NFL, especially in that AFC with how loaded it is, you will not win many games if you can't get after the quarterback. So if you're going to go pass rush, go after Thibodeau from Oregon. Go after Hutchinson from Michigan. It's better than going after Walker from Georgia.
What about you, Big B? I mean, the Jags are considering a lot of options, and I said that I'm sticking to them drafting Evan Neal. What is your thoughts on them potentially drafting Trayvon Walker from Georgia?
This draft, I've heard a lot of reports, a lot of analysts. It's a wide open draft. There's not a solid number 1. I mean, there's, the Hutchinson kid. There's a lot of, defensive side that they say could be the number 1 pick. But, I mean, Jacksonville, yes, they need to build up that offensive line. They could do that. If I was them with the holes I need, I would honestly look to move out, but this might not be the year to do it because there's not a clear-cut number 1. And I still have a sneaky feeling that, the Lions want Hutchinson to keep him in state, because he went to Michigan, that they're going to get scared that Jacksonville or somebody's going to trade for the number 1 pick to get Hutchinson, that they're going to move to number 1 and get Hutchinson. So I can see Jacksonville dropping out of number 1, which I think would be the best move for them, and then get their offensive lineman down, not drop too far, but, maybe stay in the top 10, top 5, and then get your offensive lineman. But for some reason, I'm just thinking that the Detroit's going to get scared that Hutchinson's not going to be there at number 2, and they're going to trade up to get him.
And what about you, James? What is your thoughts on potentially the Jaguars drafting Trayvon Walker? I don't think they should go that route. No. I really think that the Jaguars need to beef up the offensive line to protect Trevor Lawrence. That's why I'm sticking to them drafting Evan Neal at number 1 because you got to have a good tackle combo with a tackle combo of Cam Robinson and Evan Neal on the left and right side.
You do have to remember this, though. Jacksonville is using its franchise tag on left tackle Cam Robinson, so that really seemingly decreases the likelihood that they'll take at their pick a tackle. So that you have to factor that in. I think everybody has Hutchinson going first there, and then Walker is slated to go number 6 in many mock drafts to Carolina, to be honest. But but some people have it at number 2. So they're expected to draft Hutchinson. This is the time in the draft now, before the draft here, where certain names get beefed up because of what they did in the combine. And they'll say, oh, remember what he did, though. Remember how fast he ran. Remember how high he jumped. Remember, all these techniques that he did and what he can really do. Everybody's watching thousands of hours of film, and they're kind of forgetting what they really need, and they're just getting the best player available in their heads. But when it comes down to draft day, I think you should get a need instead of the best. So it's a tough decision. And if Detroit, like Big B mentions, if they really want Hutchinson, they got to trade up for it. And that is a tremendous possibility with Jacksonville. If their heart isn't set on Walker or Hutchinson, say, hey, I'll get somebody else. And it's at least crept into the equation that, that could happen. Walker could go there, Hutchinson. It's going to be real interesting right away in our draft this year.
Anyways, with that being said here, let's talk about some college basketball here as St. Peter's magical Cinderella run continues as they knock off number 3 seeded Purdue 67-64 to advance to the Elite Eight. James, I'm going to start with you on this. What is your thoughts on St. Peter's Peacocks continuing their Cinderella run?
Today was National Peacock Day, by the way.
Yeah, Peacock TV.
It is just fitting that they won by 3. Purdue had a chance at the end to try to tie it. It was about a 35-footer from straight away, and he missed. Just a tremendous game. 3 guys in double figures, but real great defensive game. But the first half or halftime was 33-29, and then St. Peter's went on a great run. Their coach, who is soft-spoken, but he really gets the most out of his players, and I love that fact that they're the 15th seed and no one's taken them really serious until now. I remember Kenny Smith saying after the game, they deserve to be here. They deserve to win. The way that they played defense, the way they got timely shots to go. They trailed by 6 in their previous 2 games, once at halftime before, and then in the first game, I think they trailed by 6 with 2 minutes to go, and they made a comeback to win the first round. And for Purdue, it seems like they were one of the best teams left, even though they were, yes, the 3 seed, but you would have thought by their record, by what they've done this year, they would have not easily won this game, but had a handle on it. But they let St. Peter's back in after the half, after they were up by 6, and credit to St. Peter's. Their magical run continues, and right now they are the national darlings of the March Madness this year, and I can't wait to watch their game on Saturday.
Should be a great game here, that's for sure. Here, Isaiah, I'm going to go to you on this. What's your thoughts on St. Peter's magical run as they knocked out Purdue 67-64 to go to the Elite Eight? Talk about a Cinderella team. And my Cinderella team was Loyola Chicago. I thought they were going to go far, but obviously my bracket was busted. I had Loyola Chicago and Kansas playing in the Final Four, but that's not going to happen now.
Don't you just love March Madness, guys? I mean, this is why the NCAA tournament is one of the best postseasons in all of sports, because it's a one game. Every round is one game, winner take all. Anything can happen. Anybody can get hot at the right time, and it determines the game right there. And this is what this is. St. Peter's is just red hot right now. They're one of the most scariest teams in the country, even though they're not the most talented or they don't have the biggest brand names. They just got hot at the right time. They're like the 2008 or 2007 New York Giants or the 2011 New York Giants, who just get hot at the right time and make a big time run. And that's what they're doing right now. And, I really love to see these Cinderella teams that get doubted by everybody and then just ends up proving everybody wrong and making a big time run. And shout out to Shaheem Holloway, who was a coach that nobody knew about. I think St. Peter started off not that good this season, but he managed to keep the guys in it, and he also managed to keep the team together. And now they're headed to the Elite Eight, and good for them. And I'm definitely going to be rooting for them, because who doesn't want to see the Cinderella story continue?
Yeah, I mean, let's see if it continues into the Elite Eight as they take on North Carolina. So, Big B, what's your thoughts on St. Pete's magical run? They beat Purdue. They're taking on the North Carolina Tar Heels in the Elite Eight now.
Well, I wish I could say I told you so that St. Pete was going to go this far, but I mean, I picked them. I ain't gonna lie, to upset Kentucky first round. So I mean, props to me on that. But no, I didn't have them going this far. They're the first 15 seed to go. I'm rooting for them. My brackets are all busted. I mean, they're busted after tip off of the first game. It seemed like. I mean, I couldn't get no picks right. It seemed like. So, go St. Pete's. I mean, let's run it. I mean, they're doing is building confidence right now. They took down Kentucky. They went to the second round. They beat whoever. I couldn't even remember who they beat. And then they beat Purdue today. So, I mean, Saturday, they got 48 hours. They'll play North Carolina. Hey, I would pick them to win. And then you got all week to sit there, think about the Final Four, who you're going to match up, study them. So all these kids are doing right now is building confidence. They know they can hang with the big dogs. They know they can, beat them. Nothing's scaring them right now. They're going out there. They're playing schoolyard basketball right now because they know they can hang with the big dogs. It reminds me of Gonzaga when they first started getting recognition into the NCAA tournament. The Cinderella team, Loyola Chicago, like you said, Lowell. And I had Chicago going a couple of rounds too. But hey, these Cinderella teams is what March Madness is about. My bracket's busted, so I'm jumping on the bandwagon for St. Pete's to make a run. Now, I'm not sitting next to Isaiah on the bandwagon, I can tell you that, because I'll probably push him off. So, but go St. Pete's.
Yeah, Big B. Like yours, my bracket's busted as well, and it was busted all last year. But anyways, let's talk about North Carolina and UCLA as North Carolina defeated the UCLA Bruins 73-66. I had UCLA at least going to the Elite Eight, but that's not going to happen now. And my bracket is already busted because of that. But anyways, my thoughts on this game is that North Carolina earned that win. As much as I want to see them out, I kind of think that I selfishly want North Carolina to beat St. Pete so that they play Duke in the Final Four. And I think Duke will beat North Carolina. And I think in the Final Four if that happens. So we'll have to get through the Elite Eight first. So anyways, I'm going to start with Big B on this. I don't know if you watched this game. The UCLA Bruins with a loss to North Carolina. What's your thoughts on that game?
It's tough. I mean, it was a good game from what I saw. I was at work, but I was watching the updates, and it seemed like it was a close game. North Carolina, UCLA have tremendous traditions, just like Duke does. So either team to me, once my bracket was busted, I mean, I'll watch, and I didn't care either team won, but hey, we're lining up for a Duke North Carolina Final Four, which I think a lot of people would like to see the rematch. Duke and North Carolina, especially with Coach Cade's last year. But I'm really pulling for St. Pete to pull this one out. So I hope they can take down North Carolina and keep it going. But hats off to UCLA, North Carolina. They both had a good game, good year. Unfortunately, North Carolina moved on. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.
It's going to be great. I'll tell you that. Isaiah, I'm going to go to you on this. What's your thoughts on the North Carolina Tar Heels ending the UCLA Bruins season? I think that the UCLA Bruins basketball program, their future's bright. I think that they're going to be winning. They're going to be in March Madness for quite a long time.
Well, like Big B said, I mean, this game was a game of two basketball programs with such storied, rich tradition. I mean, UCLA, when you think about UCLA, you think about, John Wooden, you think about You think about Ben Howland. You think about Chip Kelly. I mean, not Chip Kelly. You think about Mick Cronin now at UCLA. You think about the players that they've had there at UCLA. Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, to name a few. I believe even Derrick Rose went to UCLA as well. And you look at North Carolina. I mean, they've had some amazing coaches and players like your Dean Smiths, your Roy Williams, and now Hubert Davis is there. And it was just two great programs matching up. It was a great game, down in the wire type of a finish. And, you got to give credit to North Carolina, because about a month and a half ago, North Carolina was not even going to make the NCAA tournament, but then they got big wins down the stretch, like against Duke, against other teams that they had on their schedule. They made the NCAA tournament. Everybody was doubting them because, this is Davis's first year replacing Roy Williams. They haven't really been good. They beat Duke, but did they really get lucky? Maybe that's why they beat Duke. And, now they've made the run to the Elite Eight. And I think this is like the first time a first-year coach has made a run to the Elite Eight since 1965 or something like that. That's what I saw. So credit goes to Hubert Davis. He's definitely doing a great job at North Carolina. UCLA is going to be fine. They're definitely going to lose, Ju Zhang and all the other players that they had that starred in last year's team. But UCLA, you're right, Laurel. They've got a bright future. I don't think that they should sulk over this loss. I mean, it happens, but North Carolina, credit to them. The way they turned their season around, and the fact that they're still making that run now and potentially could go to the Final Four, it's really, really impressive.
Very impressive there, that's for sure. And I think UCLA is going to have a great season next year. And James, I'm going to go to you next. And what is your thoughts on UCLA's loss to North Carolina in the Sweet 16?
Yes. Unfortunately, UCLA losing, it's the last game for Tiger Campbell. He was a senior. Tonight, UCLA led by 3 at the half. Campbell had 15, Jules Bernard 16, Ju Zhang with 14, Jaquez with only 10. Riley got into foul trouble. But I think the player of the game definitely was Caleb Love. He had 30 points. He made some three-pointers. McCott with 14, Manick with 13, RJ Davis with 12. Just great scoring. And then the second half was just North Carolina's. They were more aggressive on the boards. They were just better. And for them making this run like this is just great to see, because it shows you with a team that's well coached, with guys coming up at the right time and doing well. 15 offensive rebounds, that really helped out North Carolina when it needed to happen. This was a thing with UCLA all year long. They were so up and down. They would lose games late. They would let other teams go on a run and break them. So they're out. But North Carolina, as they go on, they face St. Peter's now, which is awesome to see. And that game's a toss-up, just like every game St. Pete's been in. So it's going to be interesting on Sunday. I mentioned Saturday. I don't know my days of the week. I'm 2 years old right now.
Anyways, now that being said here, I'm going to go to I'm going to go to Isaiah here. So Isaiah, did you already talk about you? Anyways, now let's talk about.
I gave my take on it.
All right. Anyways, now let's talk about some Thursday night games, which was filled with upsets. First, it was top seed Gonzaga, led by their star, Chat Holmgren, was sent home by Eric Musselman. And Arkansas, 74-68, and approximately 2 hours later, Houston upsetted Arizona, 72-60. Which exit was more shocking, Gonzaga or Arizona? For me, it's Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga had a lot of unfinished business heading into this tournament, and I thought it's basically tournament or bust. But a lot of people have said, including what Isaiah said, that Gonzaga is one of the most overrated pro college basketball programs. They're just all hype, but no action. What's your thoughts, Isaiah?
There's three things in life that is guaranteed, and that is death, taxes, and Gonzaga choking in March Madness when it matters the most. Oh, actually, no. There's four things, actually. The last thing is John's Bengals choking in the postseason when it matters the most as well. But that's not the story.
Oh, wait.
Um,
Wait. Oh, no. Hold up here. You have how many teams in the NFL? How many teams in college football? How many teams in basketball? And you like every other day. And you have a Alex Guerrero jersey and a Texas Rangers jersey and a rival jersey for the A's. So thank you.
I just had to throw that in there. But there's three things that's guaranteed in life. And for me, the bigger shock was Arizona because, like I've always been saying, Gonzaga always has these tremendous regular seasons. Mark Few's been at Gonzaga for like 23 years. He's had tremendous regular seasons year in and year out. But what has he accomplished in the NCAA tournament despite having one of the best rosters in the West Coast? Nothing. He's always choked in the postseason, whether it's the Sweet 16, whether it's the Elite Eight, whether it's losing in the second round when you're not supposed to, whether it's losing in the finals. Like, he just doesn't have that chip. He can never get over the hump. And it's not surprising, honestly, just to see it, because I knew Gonzaga was going to lose in the NCAA tournament. They weren't going to win it this year, despite having one of the best rosters and potentially the number one pick in the upcoming NBA draft. But so Gonzaga's losing, it wasn't a shock to me. Arkansas was just a more physical team. They were the team that I felt like played with better energy. Their shots were falling. Gonzaga's wasn't. And I think the biggest factor in this game of why Gonzaga lost was because Chet Holmgren, who is the projected number one pick, the kid is like 7 foot, but he's like 190 pounds. He's literally looking like a stick out there. He needs to gain weight. That's the thing. You can't be the number one pick if you don't at least bulk up 30 to 40 pounds. Guys were just attacking him all day long, and they were just literally bullying him out of the way. He just could not manage to stand his ground because he's just really skinny. So I'm not surprised Gonzaga lost. Arizona, I'm surprised because Arizona has a lot of talent. They're a team that, with the new coach, I thought with their brand new offense that they were running, I thought that they were definitely that they were at least going to get past Houston. But Houston is a tough team, man. Kelvin Sampson got them playing really good basketball. They're gritty, they're tough, they're physical, and they're really good on defense. And I think that's one of the things that really frustrated Arizona and their shooters out there in that game. So for me, it's got to be the more shocking exit. It's got to be Arizona because I knew Gonzaga was going to not win it this year.
What about you, James? What was more shocking to you on Thursday? Was it Arizona losing to Houston or Gonzaga losing to Arkansas?
Yeah, first of all, I do want to commend Arkansas. They played tremendous defense. They made Nolan Richardson, their former coach, probably very happy with their effort because that's how Richardson coached his Razorbacks teams, back in the 90s. In 1994, they won the whole thing, and it was credited to the defensive coaching of Richardson. So they definitely did that against Chet Holmgren. When you think about this tournament against Georgia State, he had 19. Against Memphis, he only had 9. And then against Arkansas on Thursday, he only had 11 points. His highest was 23 points this year, scoring title. That was against USD. But you see with his stats, he should have been way better than this. So if anything, this falls on him. And then it also shows how much they miss Jalen Suggs as he went to the NBA. He was drafted by the Orlando Magic. And it kind of shows the kind of hole that's left without him. But credit to Arkansas. I definitely think Gonzaga losing, although they did look kind of sketchy against their last opponent. It was against, let's see. Memphis. Yeah, against Memphis. They only beat Memphis by 4, but there were times where Holmgren didn't feel part of the game. Like I said, he only scored 9 points, and they almost let Memphis back into the game. For Houston, this was a definite shocker to beat the number 1 seed Arizona Wildcats, because Arizona, yeah, they were a little banged up, but they had the abundance of riches when it comes to players. I mean, their team was stacked the whole season. But to lose by 12 against Houston, who definitely got hot at the right time, they had Shed, who had 21 points, Edwards 19, Carlton with 10, but they definitely shut down Arizona, which is so hard to do because, like I mentioned, Arizona has all these great players, and a lot of them really didn't show up, and that was really unfortunate. What Isaiah mentioned, again, it's March Madness, one game and one game only. If you win, you move on. You lose, you go home. And this is the madness fun about it. So I think the most shocking to me, I think it was Arizona, because Arkansas, you could kind of see every game they played tough. They were playing tough defense. But with Gonzaga losing like they did, it was very shocking. But I think Arizona had more talent in a way. And then Tammy, you got to talk about him with Gonzaga. I thought he was going to do well, but I think he used up all of his energy, all of his scoring against Memphis last Saturday. So I'm kind of torn, but I'll say Arizona. Losing to Houston was more surprising.
Absolutely. And then Big B, I mean, we lost him here. I mean, he's dealing with technical difficulties. So there he is. So which exit was more shocking to you, Gonzaga or Arizona?
You know, I was just kind of skimming through their schedules to kind of see who played the more ranked teams. You know, everybody was on the Gonzaga bandwagon. You know, they don't play that big of a schedule during the regular season. So, yeah, most say they're overrated, you know, and I could agree with that. And when they get in the NCAA tournament, you know, they get bounced. They make it a Sweet 16, Elite 8. Last year they made it to the Final Four. But Arizona, you know, they play a tougher schedule. So, but, you know, can't give nothing away from Arkansas. I mean, they played great defense. They held Arizona. I think somebody told me the lowest point total of the year, I believe. So I would say the biggest surprise is Arizona getting bounced, you know, but we'll see what, reports and analysts say, but I say Arizona getting bounced kind of shocking.
Anyways, now that being said here, Jermaine Samuel scored 22 points to help lead the Villanova Wildcats over Juwan Howard in Michigan, 63-55 to advance to the Elite 8. Isaiah, I mean, he is kind of not too pleased with this here. So, Isaiah, admit the truth on how you felt about Michigan losing to the Villanova Wildcats. And I'll tell you what, I think Michigan Wolverines have a bright future in basketball too. I think that Juwan Howard is I think by next year I think they'll be good.
My bracket is completely busted because not only do I love Michigan, I love Juwan Howard, but I picked Michigan to win it all this year and to shock the nation to be the first 11th seed to win the national championship. So my bracket is just gone goodbye right now. I kind of thought that Michigan was going to win just because I thought that Villanova was overrated. I think I made a video saying that I don't fear Villanova because Villanova is an overrated team, that they almost lost to Ohio State, and Michigan is going to easily run through Villanova. And obviously my words didn't age well. That's probably one of the most
normal.
That's probably the understatement of the year. But, I got to give Villanova a lot of credit. And, Callan and John, they always say, oh, Isaiah, you always make excuses for your team, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to make any excuses for my team. My team, Michigan, they lost fair and square to Villanova. Villanova was the better team. Michigan, I read somewhere that if they score 75 or more points, they're 16-2 this season. But if they score like 74 or less, the record is just awful. And Villanova did a great job swarming on defense. Michigan couldn't really get the ball into Dickinson, their center, who was just dominant this postseason, dominant down the stretch. And that was the big factor because normally Michigan always likes to give the ball to Dickinson and let him do the work in the post. And then once they double or triple team him, they'll kick it out to the shooters and they'll have open shots. But once Dickinson couldn't get going, Michigan shooters were surrounded. They were trapped. And they just couldn't get anything going on offense. And on the defensive side, I mean, Villanova, they were moving the ball around. They were flustering Michigan with their cutting and their ball movement, and Michigan just couldn't stop it. So congrats to Villanova on winning that game. Great win for Jay Wright and his team. And as a Wolverine fan, it does hurt. It does hurt. Because I thought Michigan was going to win it all this year. But you're right, Laurel. You're right. Michigan does have another top recruiting class coming in, so they'll be fine. But it's still a little bit raw from last night. I'll say that.
Definitely was raw there last night. Big B, I'll go to you next. What's your thoughts on Villanova defeating Michigan to go to the Elite Eight?
I mean, growing up as probably a bigger Michigan fan than Isaiah was because, back when I was growing up, Gophers were, poo, as John would say. So I grew up a Michigan fan, and, it was tough to see them lose. But again, everybody hypes up the Big Ten like it's the most dominant conference when it comes to basketball. And every year it's always a letdown because – yeah, they squeak through. They'll make the Final Four here and there, but we get 6-7 teams in, and I think all of them are out now. So, Villanova played better. It's a one-game winner take all every game in the NCAA tournament. So, Michigan might have a good class coming in next year, but again, can they gel together? Is it the NCAA curse? Howard, pretty good coach. I still think. Personally, I think he probably should have got suspended for the NCAA tournament for his actions towards the end of the regular season. But that's here nor there. But Michigan will be back, just like the Big Ten will be back. But I don't see them going any further. Hopefully, Villanova could keep that train going.
What about you, James? What is your thoughts on Michigan losing to Villanova?
Yeah, it was really tough. I think that once Villanova made that run in the second half, it was pretty much over. They won each quarter 3-5, and they were definitely the better team. Connor Gillespie doing well, along with Samuels and Moore in that game. Dickinson, with 15, and Brooks with 14. But no one else really scored in double figures for Michigan. They just ran out of time and ran out of juice. Villanova's kind of experienced. You got some upperclassmen there. They definitely deserve this win. And I'm interested now to see how far Villanova can go. They play that scrappy Houston team tomorrow. So I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good game tomorrow here. But anyways, Pablo Branchero and Coach K and Duke survives Texas Tech 78-73. My thoughts on this game was I'm calling it. I called it on my bracket. I think that Duke's going to go all the way to the Final Four here. But anyways, I'm going to go to the Elite Eight, but I do think that this is Duke's year to win it all. So, Isaiah, what's your thoughts on Duke surviving and beating Texas Tech 78-73?
I mean, it was a tremendous game. I mean, it went right down to the wire. Both teams were battling back and forth. Both teams were just going at it. And Duke just got their shots to fall in. Texas Tech missed a couple of shots, and it just really cost them. That's what comes down to in these close games. One team makes their shots, the other team doesn't, and that's how it goes. And for Coach K and Duke, I'm really impressed because I know Coach K is a tremendous coach. Hell, if the Lakers fire Frank Vogel, I want him to be my coach, but I know that's not going to happen. But Coach K, with the team that he's got right now, this is probably one of the weakest Duke teams in recent years. And for them to still be able to make the Elite Eight with that team and overcoming all the things that they've had to overcome and beat the opponents that, when you look at it on paper, you would say that this team is better than Duke. This team is better than Duke. It's just really impressive what they've done right now. And I think it's definitely setting the stage for Duke and Coach K to potentially win it all, and Duke and for Coach K to ride into the sunset as a champion as he retires. We'll see, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this run for Duke, if it can continue or not, we don't know. I think they play, if I'm not mistaken, I think Duke plays North Carolina next. Is that true?
Duke actually plays Arkansas in the Elite Eight.
That's going to be a great matchup because Arkansas is a really physical, tough team on defense. And, Duke's got a lot of weapons on offense. So I can't wait to see how that goes down. But really impressed with Coach K and the coaching performance that he's put together this year in Duke.
Yeah, he's definitely done a good job there on that end, that's for sure. But anyways, I'm going to go to Big B on this. What is your overall takeaways on this game here? Duke and Texas Tech.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant. I'm kind of torn because one, I didn't have Duke going this far, so again they blew up my bracket. But yet, tradition's there. Coach K, I'd like to see him go out on top. So I'm kind of mixed. I mean, I'm glad they won, but it could have went either way. I mean, Duke got hot at the right time. A couple shots don't fall. We're talking about Texas Tech having an upset, Duke being gone. So the play, I know, I should say I know, but I feel the players definitely don't want to lose for Coach K. They want him to go out on top. I just, after their loss in their championship game to Virginia Tech, I think it was, I didn't think Duke was going to be this far. So they're kind of shocking me right now. So, but we'll see what happens. They play Sunday night or Saturday? So we'll see what that game turns out to be. Hopefully Duke goes on and we get Duke, North Carolina. But, if they don't, then, Coach K had a great career and, he's going to go home and sit and probably be a scout for Duke, I would guess. So we'll see what happens.
Might be a scout for Duke, that's for sure. But anyways, what about you, James? What is your thoughts? What is your thoughts on Duke beating Texas Tech 78-73?
Looks like I'm back visually. I was getting kind of excited because of Texas Tech leading by 4 at the half. I was like, heck yeah. I think Coach K was in there in the locker room saying, hey, I'm not going to go out like this. I mean, we're not going to go out like this. So Panchero definitely stepped up with 22 points. Williams with 16, Roach with 15, Moore with 12. Definitely stepped up in that second half. Texas Tech just I think they used all their energy up in the first half. They did get some great contributions, 4 guys in double figures. But I think the Duke experience just took over there. And the masterful coaching of Coach K definitely took over. And it was unfortunate for the Red Raiders to go out. But they had a pretty good run. To lose to Duke like this is very unfortunate, though. I can't wait for the next Duke game. I want to see them get into a really, really great game, their next game on Saturday.
Absolutely. But anyways, with that being said here, now we'll talk about some NBA here. I mean, Isaiah, did you already you gave your thoughts on Duke?
Yes, I did.
All right. Anyway, so the Miami Heat turmoil continues as they drop their third consecutive game and lose 111 to 103 to the lowly Knicks. How much trouble are the Miami Heat in? I don't think they're in that big of trouble. I think that they just need to find a way to play better basketball. Isaiah, how much trouble are the Miami Heat in?
They're not in huge trouble, but they are in a little bit of trouble because right now in March and April, with about like 8-10 games left, you need to be playing your best basketball to go into the NBA playoffs. You can't go into the NBA playoffs on a cold streak, and it seems like the Miami Heat, not only are they losing a lot of games at the wrong time, but they're also getting into scuffles on the sideline like you saw, I think, on Wednesday with Jimmy Butler and Udonis Haslem after Jimmy Butler said that Eric Spoelstra is nothing without Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Like, you don't need to have that on the sidelines. Like, I get those two guys are very, very emotional and they're intense, but to see the infighting, then to see them losing another game, especially to the Knicks, who haven't been that good all season long, they're trending in the wrong direction. They definitely have time to pick it up with about 8 to 10 games left, but they need to turn this around now because you can't go into the NBA playoffs you can't go into the NBA playoffs losing like 7 out of your final 9 to go in, because it will definitely wreck chemistry. It will wreck the mindset of the team, and you got to go in there hot to go into the NBA playoffs.
And what about you, Big B? Do you think that the Miami Heat are in trouble after they lost 111 to 103 to the lowly New York Knicks?
Man, it's tough to say because, yeah, 3 losses now. I mean, we don't know what happened. I mean, shots don't fall, whatever. But you got the in-team fighting and, what's going on in the locker room. I mean, we've heard rumblings. I mean, this is Jimmy Butler all over again. I mean, we had him here in Minnesota, I don't know. I mean, right now I'd say it's 50-50. I mean, you don't want to go into the postseason on a losing streak, but yet, you don't want to go in the postseason with your locker room all disarray right now either. So they got to figure it out. The ownership leaders got to step in and say, hey, we need to shape up or we're going to start shipping out, and we're going to start sitting players. So that might be what they need. Maybe a team only meeting behind closed doors to get everything situated and find out what's going on. But if I'm a Miami Heat fan, I'm not worried. You're in the playoffs. As long as, people don't really start throwing haymakers and really get out of hand, I think Miami's going to be just fine when it comes to the playoffs.
What about you, James? What is your overall thoughts on this? What's your overall thoughts on the Miami Heat losing to the New York Knicks?
Yeah, looking at the standings, the Miami Heat are 5-5 in their last 10. 76ers and Bucks are half game back. The Celtics are 1 game back. So they're definitely feeling the pressure, losing these games in a row. These things are going to happen. You get heated personalities together, and things are going to happen. You knew that with Jimmy Butler coming in. That was part of the process. That was part of the business that, if things are going to go wrong, Jimmy's going to tell you about it. It could be his fault. It could be Spoelstra's fault. Could be Haslem, who doesn't play a damn minute, saying something to someone who's actually playing. So that I could see why Jimmy was a little heated on that. It's not the first time Jimmy has acted up. I think that's why I like him. He's fiery. He knows, he knows the limits of his emotions, but it gets to him. Losing gets to him, and I think that's fine because he knows how to step it up. So I'm fine with Jimmy Butler doing what he did. I mean, yeah, he did challenge his coach to a fight, but that's Jimmy, that's him. And Haslem wasn't going to take that, even though he hasn't played a minute. But the heat is definitely on for the Miami Heat. It's pun intended. You want to go into the playoffs strong and healthy and happy, but right now, Pat Riley's probably got to step in and say, hey, what's going on. Let's talk. Let's get this situated. Let's get this thing back on track. Let's start winning games and getting fresh into the playoffs. Now for the Knicks, this is a pretty good win. It gets them a half game. No, I'm sorry. What is this? It gets them. It gets them 5 games back of the Hawks for the last play-in spot. It doesn't really do anything for them except kind of bring some confidence. But a recent loss happened for the Knicks, and Julius Randle kind of went on a sour pity. And it seems like both teams in this game had a little disarray lately. So it's part of the regular season. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. These things are going to happen.
Anyways, I mean, John is on here. What is your thoughts on the Miami Heat losing to the Knicks here?
I mean, Jimmy Butler gets heated. Just ask some reporters out there, cough, cough. But no, I mean, I definitely think for Miami, this sucks. I mean, you're a team that was so close to winning it in 2020 that, let's say if they won it in 2020, then I don't think this really would have mattered. But now this is a team that has to win right now. It's not like you're 3 to 4 years from now. It's not like you're certain teams in the NFL or the NBA where you're in this rebuild phase, and hopefully in a couple of years you can start contending. But the pressure's on now, and if they can't get it done, then, well, frankly, I don't know what's going to happen. It would be a disaster roster explosion in the next year or two if it doesn't work out.
Anyways, with that being said, here now we'll talk some baseball here. I'm going to actually start off with this as my Los Angeles Dodgers have extended Dave Roberts for 3 more years as his contract runs until the 2025 season. And my thoughts on it is that I knew it was going to happen. It was a matter of when. I mean, Dave Roberts is the right person to lead my Los Angeles Dodgers into the future. And I think that Dave Roberts has done a phenomenal job with the Dodgers since he took over for Don Mattingly. And I do think that I expect big things from the Dodgers going forward. And I think Dave Roberts is the right person to lead the Dodgers going forward. And James, I'm going to go to you next. I mean, your crosstown rival Dodgers signed Dave Roberts to an extension for 3 years until the 2025 season. What is your thoughts on that?
My crosstown rival Dodgers?
Well, yeah, because the Angels and Dodgers are freeway series, you know?
Yeah, no. Listen, the Dodgers, their fans are awful. They kept wanting this guy gone, and now they extended him, so it's a bad look on the fans, after every postseason loss, yes, but he did get a ring, asterisk. I didn't think he was going to go anywhere anyway. This reaffirms it. I think they're led well, but I think it's somewhat him, but it's somewhat the scouting, the other coaches, the management for bringing players in who does well. They're in LA, but somewhere else they were awful. And for them to come into a great situation like the Dodgers is awesome to see. Well, not for me, but for everybody else that has hope that, hey, I'm a bad player, but I can do better somewhere else with the right coaching, the right managing. And I think Dave Roberts, he's sort of laid back from San Diego. I think he still has a house here. He's always been someone you can trust, unless it was the postseason, but he got over that hump. And I expect the Dodgers probably to win the World Series this year, sadly to say. I want to set myself on fire if that happens. But I think Dave Roberts, he's the right man going forward, no matter what the fans say in LA.
What about you, Isaiah? What's your thoughts on Dave Roberts getting a contract extension? As I mentioned earlier, you knew that it was going to happen, and I said that I think it was going to happen. I mean, I was all tired of the fans criticizing Dave Roberts, but it's the LA media. But I've always liked Dave Roberts as the manager of the Dodgers, and I think that extending him was the right move for the Dodgers.
My thoughts on it is that like you guys said, it was going to happen. It was going to happen. Dave Roberts, was going to be the manager of the Dodgers, not only for this season, but for many more years. I mean, he's done a great job with the Dodgers. You can't argue with the results. I know he's got a stacked team, but I mean, he's taken the team to what? Is it three World Series and 4 NLCS appearances in his 4 years in his 5 years as the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's done a tremendous job. Anybody would beg, or any team would beg, to have that kind of success, a 4-year and 5-year, or a 4 NLCS and 5-year run, 3 World Series, 1 World Series title. I mean, this guy has done it all. He's a tremendous manager. I don't understand the hate that he gets from LA media. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. And I don't know why Dodger fans always want him fired literally every game. I know there's some people out there that always do, but it just doesn't make sense. I think he's a tremendous manager, and the Dodgers would have been absolutely foolish to let him go.
Yeah, they would have been foolish. And Big B, what's your thoughts on my man Dave Roberts getting an extension from the Dodgers?
I mean, any baseball fan, that didn't think he was going to get re-signed, need to go check the papers and see what he's done. I mean, a lot of teams, it's all about winning in the regular season, get to the playoffs, World Series. Well, the Dodgers have done that. Now, to James's point, is it credit to him? Is it credit to the management? Credit to the scouts? I mean, it's all over the board. I mean, you can't if you don't have an owner that doesn't want to spend, you're not going to do good. I mean, just look at Minnesota here. Yeah, we spend here and there, but Oakland. I mean, there's a prime example there. They're not spending. They're not probably going to be good. Could they surprise us? Yeah, but Dodgers are willing to spend, just like the Yankees, just like the Braves, just like Boston. So anybody, any 4 of us with a roster like that could probably take up to the World Series year in and year out. But, it goes to scouting, goes to the team, it goes to the players. I mean, yes, the coach is the one that's going to get all the credit because they win. It's a point for him. They lose, it's on his record. So, I mean, props to him for getting the extension. And we'll see what the next 3 years brings to Dodger Nation and Baby Blue over there.
All right. Anyways, now that being said here, the Rockies, however, acquired outfielder Randall Grichuk from the Toronto Blue Jays for Raimel Tapia and prospects. I think that you got to put Randall Grichuk in center. Keep Sam Hilliard in right, Chris Bryant in left. I think that's a good outfield for the Rockies. I'm going to go to James on this one. What is your thoughts on the Rockies making a trade for Randall Grichuk?
Yeah, with Charlie Blackmon in right field, and then Chris Bryant in left, and now you have Grichuk there, the former Angel, who's drafted in the first round back in 2009. Then he's been traded now 3 times. He's bounced around. His numbers, I looked at him, 22 home runs, 81 RBIs, 241 average with Toronto. He couldn't keep up with the real power bats in Toronto. But hopefully playing in Denver with the high altitude, those numbers will skyrocket for him there in Colorado. Now, Colorado, losing a fan favorite, which that just surprises me, Tapia. His numbers really aren't, booming there. So for Toronto to get him is kind of a mystery, but I think for defensive purposes, maybe that's the reason why. But it's one of those trades where it'll benefit Colorado more than it will Toronto, in my opinion.
What about you, Big B? What is your thoughts on Randall Grichuk going to the Colorado Rockies for Raimel Tapia?
I mean, right now, if I'm a Rocky fan, I'm kind of confused of what direction the team's going in. I mean, the last couple of years, they've made some moves that didn't make sense, and they bring in people that didn't make sense. I mean, you're going to Colorado, you got a nice young bat that, put up numbers like James just did in Toronto, and, now he's going to have the home and the thin air, so, he could put up better numbers. I mean, it just benefits him. So we'll see what the Rockies do. I mean, to me, if I was a Rocky fan, I'd be kind of confused of what direction, because you let two people go in the last couple of years, and now you bring in a couple guys. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think he's going to be on pace to, still hit for power and average there in Colorado.
All right. Now, with that being said, now, folks, let's talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, as they're reportedly shopping young third baseman Alec Bohm following his struggles in his sophomore season. Do I believe the Phillies would? Do you think the Phillies would be wise to move on from Alec Bohm, or should Dave Dombrowski and company keep him? I think the Phillies should be patient with Alec Bohm. He had a bad sophomore season last year. I think that this year, I think he's going to be better. I think that if he has a bounce back season, I think that the Phillies lineup is going to get even more scarier if Alec Bohm steps up his game. Look, you already have Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins. This Phillies team should even keep up with the Braves and the Mets in the NL East. I'm going to go to Isaiah on this. I mean, if you're there, Isaiah, do you think that the Phillies need to be patient with Alec Bohm, or do you think that they should trade him? I think that the Phillies should keep him.
There was only one guy that I would have traded Alec Bohm for, and that was Matt Chapman.
Oh,
now
my
that
God.
Matt Chapman is in Toronto with the Blue Jays, Dave Dombrowski and the Philadelphia Phillies would be so stupid to trade Alec Bohm, because he's your third baseman. You really don't have another third baseman besides him, and he's a young player. He showed potential. I know the 2020 season, the short 60 game season, that 2020 60 game season, he was great. He batted like 333 with, I think, 7 home runs and I believe 30 something RBIs. He put up great numbers. I know his defense is not the best in the world, but with his bat, with his limited abilities on defense, you can work with him. He's a second-year player. Like, I don't understand why we're giving up on players 2 years after they go up to the big leagues. Like, after one bad season, you're really going to give up on a player. It just makes no sense whatsoever. I think the Phillies would really regret it. And if Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fode and the Phillies front office trade Alec Bohm, if it's not for like a superstar player, then I'm going to the Phillies front office and I'm removing Dombrowski as president of baseball operations and putting myself as president of baseball operations, because I guarantee you I could do a better job than Dombrowski.
What?
No.
What?
Dave Dombrowski's a good executive,
Yes.
No.
Isaiah, but
He's not.
he just ruins farm systems, though.
No, he's not good. He's a pile of monkey diarrhea.
Exactly. He doesn't understand you can't give up on young players after one bad season. Yes, he had a bad season. I mean, he wasn't even that bad in his so-called sophomore slump. He batted 247 with, I believe, James, if you can look up the stats for me, but he was great in June, July, and August after he came back up from AAA. So I just don't understand what the Phillies are doing. The Phillies have one player that they've developed, and now you're going to give up on him after one quote-unquote mediocre season. Oh, that's ludicrous.
I don't think that's going to happen, though. I'm going to go to James on this one. What's your thoughts on the Phillies potentially trading Alec Bohm? I think they should keep him. What are your opinion? What's your opinion on this?
Oh, man. He was so up and down, it seems like, looking at the game logs. A lot of no-hit games, honestly. I think they would have been fine trading him just because at third base, that's a power position, and you need people to hit there. You need people to hit home runs. And especially in that fan box that's Citizens Bank Park, you need someone to hit home runs at third base. He had 7 only last year, only driven in 47 runs last year. He did have 31 walks, but he struck out 111 times as well. So he really had a hard time at the plate in 115 games last year. Unless there was a deal for a third baseman that's better, you have to roll with him. But that doesn't mean that they can trade him in the next week, the next month, the next 2 months. There might be a deal out there for a third baseman that's wanting to get out of whatever situation they're in. Yeah, looking at the third baseman now for the Phillies, Johan Camargo, Gregorius can even play third. Nick Maton can also play third, but those guys, other from Gregorius, are not known. Baum, I think you have to stick with, but he's got to produce, and if that doesn't happen, you got to find another third baseman that will. And we know Dombrowski. I know he was mentioned earlier. He's done this in Boston and Detroit, where he's traded away the farm to bring in players that will win now. And the Phillies, I think, are a win now organization, obviously, with the moves that they've made. And they're not done yet. I think when these rumors come up about Baum, I think you have to take it seriously and say, hey, if he's not going to be there at third hitting home runs and driving in runs at a premium, then you gotta find a deal to get someone in there better.
And Big B, what's your thoughts on the Phillies potentially trading Alec Baum? In my opinion, I don't think it's going to happen.
Nah, I would say never is never. I mean, to Isaiah's point, yeah, you can't really give up a guy after 1 or 2 years in the majors, sophomore slump. I mean, everybody goes through it, or I should say most of the people go through it. Alex, he just needs to keep learning the game, keep making adjustments himself, because we all know pitchers are going to make adjustments. They're going to know his weaknesses and his strengths, and they're going to stay away from his strengths. And he's got to do the same. He's got to know what his weaknesses are, get stronger in there. He's got to get better at his strengths. Possible. They're going to start with him at third. I don't think they're going to move him now, but at the All-Star break, if the right offer comes in and you can get a power bat and he's not producing, I mean, yeah, he could be on the trading block just because of him being young, and another team might think they might be able to bring him along a little bit slower. But, I'm with you, Laura. I don't think they're going to trade him right off the bat. But, again, you never know. It's the MLB. The right offer comes in and, somebody offers you a solid third baseman. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to make the move. So, never say never, but Isaiah, I'd like to know what Matt Chapman's paying you to make him be like a superstar, because that's all you talk about.
Hey, I'm just supporting my fellow Oakland A's player,
You'll just say Chappie more like crappy, so no, you're not a Chappie fan.
All
right. Anyways, with that being said here, now let's go to our top 5 relief pitchers. I'm going to go first with my list. Here are my top 5 bullpen pitchers heading into the 2022 season. I'm going to start from 1 to 5. Number 1 for me is Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers. Number 2 is Aroldis Chapman of the New York Yankees. Number 3 for me is Liam Hendriks of the Chicago White Sox. Number 4 is Raisel Iglesias from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And Blake Trinan rounds out my top 5 from my Los Angeles Dodgers. What about you, Isaiah? Who are your top 5 relief pitchers heading into this season?
Let's start with, I'm going to go 5-1. Number 5 on this list, I think you got to go with Aroldis Chapman. And the reason why I'm putting him that far down on the list is just because the guy just isn't the same as he once was. He still has like a bit of the power stuff, but it's not like the 100, 101, 103 mile an hour fastball that he came up with. So I think that he's definitely still a great pitcher, but he's just not what he once was. I got to put him at number 5. Plus, he's got some injuries. He's been inconsistent in the past. Number 4 on the list, I'm probably going to go. I mean, it's like a big time list, but I'm trying to think. There's a lot of relievers. I'm probably gonna go with Raisel Iglesias of James's Angels, just because he's a good closer. He's shown that in the past. He's got a record to prove it. So I gotta put him as my number 4. number 3 on this list, and I'm trying to look at some of these closers right now because most of them are closers on my list, is give me Emmanuel Clase of the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, this dude throws 100 plus. He's got tremendous sinkers. He's got tremendous curveballs as well. He's just a really deceptive pitcher, and I think that he's really young right now. I definitely think that he also could be one of the best relievers in baseball after this season. That's just how talented the kid is. And then number two and number 1, it's got to be these two. It's got to be Josh Hader and Liam Hendriks. And for me, I'm going to put Hader as my number 2 and put Hendriks as number 1 because Hendriks, I don't know what is up with Hendriks, but he was bad. Like, he was really bad in the beginning of his career, in the middle part of his career, but he's just really turned it on in the latter parts of his career, and now he just throws like 97 to 100. He's got a nasty slider, and he's just, when he's on, he's just truly unhittable.
You're right about that. I mean, the White Sox have a deep bullpen. I think Liam Hendriks could be good in either role, either being the closer or being the setup reliever, because I think Craig Kimbrell right now is going to be the closer for the White Sox, or you could share the closer role with Hendriks and Kimbrell. That's what I would do. So, James, who are your top 5 relief pitchers heading into this season?
I'm surprised Isaiah didn't say Lou Trevino, but anywho,
Can I replace Clase with or Iglesias with Trevino?
Oh, stop, Isaiah.
I would fly up to San Jose and choke you. Number 5 tied Ryan Presley with Houston and Aroldis Chapman with the New York Yankees. Chapman, was mentioned his issues. Control issues is a big problem. Walks, giving up walk-off hits, that was a big issue with Chapman in the New York last year. Huge issue. Ryan Presley, he's gone a period where he was kind of ineffective. You could say the same thing for my 3rd guy, but I'm just happy he's in. My 4th guy, Raisel Iglesias. He's a proven closer. He's done well. Whip is really low. I really like what he brings to my bullpen because we haven't had a good closer probably since Houston Street back in 2016. So I really like him at the 3 spot. Edwin Diaz, I'm happy he's even on this list for me at number 3. He also has control issues, but it's someone you can trust really well at times when you think about it. So I'm just happy Edwin Diaz is out of the division from Seattle, went back to the Mets. Number 2, Liam Hendriks of Chicago, the White Sox. He's definitely effective. He's one of the best in the game. Both he's a very secure and can do well. He leads the league in saves at times. Number 1 is Josh Hader for me for Milwaukee. It's good to see him back up and doing well. He's been injured, but he's just number 1 for me right now as the best relief pitcher for me in the game.
And what about you, Big B? Who are your top 5 relief pitchers heading into this season?
It's tough when you talk about relievers because the game's changed so much over the years. We've talked about, closers being relievers, closers. A lot of coaches, managers, they go with the hot hand, So for me, I'm going to start number 5, Will Smith. When the guy's closing, the guy could be, he's giving up runs, but, he's probably, if it wasn't for him closing, the Braves probably weren't going to win it. Diaz, number 4, Presley, number 3. And then top 2, I think we could argue either way, but it's Hendriks and Hader, 1-2, 2-1, whichever. But the relieving game's changed so much. These guys get out there probably once every couple of days. They pitch to 2-3 batters. They have 1 bad outing. Their ERA just skyrockets. They have 4 good outings, and, they're untouchable. So, but that's my top 5.
Anyways, it has been a great show tonight, and let's go to some final thoughts. Final take two. Final thoughts for me is that it was a great show, and thank you to everybody that listened and all that. And looking forward to a great weekend of college basketball, and looking forward to a great finish to this weekend of the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. And I'm going to go to James first. And what are your final thoughts on?
Well, it's a tough day in the music world, tough night, I should say. The reason I have the shirt behind me here, Foo Fighters, one of my favorite bands growing up, and still, Taylor Hawkins, the 25-year band drummer for Foo Fighters, passed away today at 50 years old. He was on the South American tour, and he was found dead. It's tragic, you know. Foo Fighters definitely one of my favorite bands of all time growing up with Dave Grohl and the guys. And all their videos, you know, all the members were in them. And they're always just fun or heroic videos. And they always had fun with each other, it seemed like. So it was a tight-knit group. And for Taylor to pass away tonight, I'm really sad, you know. I should say tomorrow, I'm going to definitely go on the Foo Fighters binge, you know, while I work out and work and do whatever tomorrow. So I'm really sad tonight. Like, I almost didn't want to come on, honestly, because all I wanted to do was hear Foo Fighters songs and the drum beats. So I'm blown away tonight by the news, honestly.
What about you, Isaiah? What are your final thoughts are?
My final thoughts is, you know, condolences go out to the person that James was talking about, to their family as well, because, you know, 50 years old, I mean, the guy was fairly young, you know, he was really young, and to pass away at the age of 50 is just, I'm pretty sure their family's just utterly devastated right now, and just condolences out to the friends, the families, the band members that he was associated with. You know, my final thoughts is, you know, it was a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to all the fans who tuned in and commented. I know we had Callan, we had Nate, we had Christy tune in tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in and commenting on our program. We really appreciate it. I also want to thank, you know, Big B and my co-host James and Laura for doing the show with me tonight. Really appreciate you guys. And probably the last final thought that I'm probably gonna give is that I don't know if you guys heard this, but the #1 women's tennis player like abruptly retired the other day, and retired at the age of 25, and she was just so dominant, and it was just such a shock because, I mean, she was in her prime, she was winning tournament after tournament and tournament, and for her to just walk away and say like, oh, I've accomplished like everything that I needed to accomplish or wanted to accomplish, and I feel satisfied, and you never really see that from athletes nowadays where they just walk away in their prime because they're happy with what they've done. So congratulations to her on a tremendous career. And happy retirement to her, and hopefully she finds happiness in whatever next thing she chooses to do. And yes, I do watch women's tennis, by the way, or not women's tennis, just tennis in general. So I'm not just a basketball, baseball, football guy.
What was her name then? If you watched women's tennis,
something Barty.
Oh,
I don't know
boy.
her first name, but I don't know. I think I probably butchered her last name as well, but
Oh boy.
it was like Barty.
And also, Big B, what are your final thoughts here?
Oh, Isaiah, we give you guys one thing, and that's not talk women's sports. But anyways, yeah, my condolences goes out to the Foo Fighter fans, family. Sorry to hear about the drummer passing away. But outside that, thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for not talking Laker basketball. And thanks for all the comments.
What about you, John? What are your final thoughts here?
couple of them is that happen to be on. Screw the Dodgers and go Michigan. I'm so happy with the results of what happened this past week. It just truly made me see Michigan lose and Texas Tech lose. Screw you, Michael Crabtree. That just warms my sports heart. So Michigan, keep doing what you're doing, and I can't wait to see what happens next year.
And folks, with that being said, for John Alcorn, Isaiah Leong, James Gonzalez, Big B, Loro signing off for now. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you again for the next Wild Sports Talk show on Monday night. And we will also have the night shift for you on Sunday. Have a good night.